Namaste and a very warm welcome yet another time with a beautiful guest that I have here with me, a social impact leader simply with Suparna. But as is cursory, I'd like to start with by paying my obeisance to the higher power, the Shakti, whoever it is that you believe in. For me, Shakti has held me in good stead. या कुंदेन्दु तुषारहार धवला या शुभ्र वस्त्रावृता या वीणावरदंड मंडित करा या श्वेत पद्मासना या ब्रह्मच्युत शंकर प्रभूति भी देवै सदा वंदिता सा मां पातु सरस्वती भगवती निशेष जाड्यपहा. um, well, the Sanskrit verse essentially means, in case you're watching us for the first time, it's a prayer to Goddess Saraswati to dispel the darkness of ignorance that resides in our heart with the wisdom of knowledge, because we all are complete and whole within our own selves. Shabd Pramar says, or the gurus say, that you have all the wisdom inside you. It's just dusty and you just need to dust it, and you are also an enlightened soul. Well, I have someone very special here today. And it gives me great joy in introducing Robin to you. Robin is the founder of Kranti NGO, a Sabera awardee. She was originally in the US military. She has a very interesting life and life story. She's now empowering girls, 30 girls from India's red light areas to become agents of change. These girls from those red light areas have actually gone on to universities all across the world. Edinburgh in United Kingdom, universities in the US, even in India's Ashoka University, and it is awe-inspiring. Currently, well, of course, Kranti is supporting these girls who are survivors of trafficking or daughters of sex workers. They're providing them with housing, education, healthcare, therapy, extracurricular activities, and of course, vocational training. But all of this is not possible without the passion that Robin brings to Kranti. Robin, thank you so much for taking our time and discussing your journey with us.
Thank you. It's a lovely pleasure and honor to be here.
So, Robin, you're in Himachal right now, and we're taking a chance in case the Wi-Fi, the Wi-Fi gods should be blessing us, hopefully. And it's
Hope so.
beautiful even in Delhi. It's been raining since morning, and it's very
Yeah.
pleasant. Normally, I sit and record this, in another part of the house with nicely laid out bricks at the back and all, but I don't have access to the window there, and here I have
Mm,
access to the window with a beautiful weather coming in and the wonderful light coming in, so there's a change of scenery, so to speak.
lovely. Good.
Robin, you know, while we all know what Kranti is doing, and they're doing phenomenal stuff, and I've been following Kranti on Instagram and other social media handles, and I understand that there are a lot of challenges that you have to face. Because even with me, when I am doing my menstrual hygiene workshops, there are challenges when I'm promoting a sustainable menstrual hygiene solution like a menstrual cup. For me, the one of the challenges is to kind of change the mindsets of people. So behavioral change is what is required. And I think a lot of that you have to deal with on a much larger scale when you are working with, girls from the red
Yeah.
light area. Even though you have given them what it takes to be a beautiful citizen of the world. And I've had that personal experience with Jayashree Patil, who anchored Sabera 2019 for us. And I also have a photograph from there, which I'm just going to show right now here. Yeah, that's Jayashree in the
Mm,
middle. That's me on the right, and Chandani, her co-anchor in 2019. So
mm,
when I spent that time with Jayashree, it was, I could feel that the kind of hand holding or the orientation that she has or the exposure that she's got is quite phenomenal because of her interaction. She stayed with me for a couple of days, and the way
mm.
she spoke, the way she carried herself, I think that spoke volumes for what Kranti is doing. But coming back to the change in mindset of the larger society, while
Mm.
you being able to, do that for those girls, making them see the world around, but how is it that you manage the world around you wherever you are?
Yeah. Um, so first of all, I just want to say that it's the girls who are doing the hard work and the really tough job, right? We do the providing of resources and we provide the best that we possibly can, and yet the journey of where they come from and where they're headed is completely in their hands, right? The journey of healing. Sometimes something happens in your life, whether it's maybe being raped, whether it's an accident. Sometimes trauma lives with us for many, many, many years, and the hard work of overcoming those things are really, like, the girls deserve all the credit for the work that they do, not Kranti necessarily. That being said, I have to say that for me, it's always been a perspective of literally how, if this were my child, how would I raise that girl? And I don't say that as like, oh, I'm a really good social worker, I'm helping the poor, not like that. I'm saying I'm an American citizen. I grew up in the US with access to, education, opportunities, experiences that girls from this background can never dream of. So to me, it's a matter of, like, let's say I had my own biological child. Where would she go to school? She would go to the Krishnamurti school in the UK. So guess what? Kranti girls go there. And where would she go on to university? Either to Ashoka University or to Jayshree actually went on to Korea and just graduated from there a couple months ago. So they've all gone on to amazing universities. And the cycle, or the crazy thing about this, is that I have these expectations of them that they're totally capable of living and performing and living up to everything that every ordinary person is capable of, whatever ordinary means, right? I think that they're exceptional in many, many ways, in their compassion, in their leadership, and their resilience, their courage. They're absolutely exceptional. They're not normal. Now, the thing is that part of what we set out to do with Kranti was to prove to the world that if these girls can do it, absolutely any girl can do it, and that girls are worth investing in. So for us, it's been a difficult choice, of course. 25, 30 girl, how many kids can you actually take on with that level of depth? It's one thing to just have a house full of 500 girls and you feed them and clothe them and send them off to municipal schools, but it's a very different thing to support everyone's individual journeys of learning, of healing, of mental health. We've had girls in Kranti who are deaf and mute. We've had girls who came to us 18, had never been in a classroom in their lives. We've had girls who've been trafficked at age 12, 13 from Bangladesh. It's quite a range of you know it's easy to say, okay, let's just send them off to school and put them through XYZ program, and then all of a sudden everything will be sorted for life. And it's another thing to say that we're making a 10-year investment in this kid, and because we believe in her potential as an individual. And every human being has a gift to offer the world, and these girls are no different. So it's just our job to do that investing. That being said, the challenges are endless. So the reason I'm actually in Himachal is because in April we were actually evicted from our shelter home in Mumbai, and that was our 8th eviction in 10 years. And
You were evicted from your home, as in the landlord didn't want you to stay there with the girls, or they didn't want those girls there.
So that's what happened since 2012 or 13. We've had almost 8 evictions, and that's exactly what happens every single time. Basically, one of the girls might be in the news, or her story's in the news about her winning a scholarship to study in New York and whatever. And then slowly people realize, because it's our fault too. We lie to people when we rent a flat, right? What are we going to say? It's not like, honest. If we're honest, nobody's going to let us stay there. And then we just say anath bachche ke liye kaam karte hain, and then slowly, once they realize where the girls are really from, then they want us out and they want us gone within 2 weeks, that kind of thing. So this situation was a little bit different, but it was quite a wake-up call for us, as in, what do they say, the definition of insanity, right? To do the same thing over and over and expect different results.
Correct.
So we just realized that one more flat in Mumbai is going to lead to one more eviction sooner or later. And we decided that we're getting up and moving to Himachal. So,
Oh, so you all
yeah,
have moved bag and baggage to Himachal from Mumbai now.
yeah. Yeah. And I
Wow.
think it's quite because many of the girls, there's some girls who are in university in Mumbai. There's some 2 or 3 who are working full-time jobs in Mumbai. We have 8 girls studying abroad right now. 10 girls. And then we have, so in the shelter home, there's about 7, 8 right now as well. But basically, we're just like, first of all, living in Mumbai in that 1,200 square foot flat, 3 bedroom flat, all of lockdown for 3 years or 2 years, whatever. 24 people were living in that house, in the 1,200 square foot house, including, Jayashree, and all these girls are just like fighting over space for classes, and, the Wi-Fi wasn't working, and, all those kinds of things. So we really struggled a lot through that. And also, it unfortunately really limits our capacity and the amount of girls that we're able to support, because how many girls can you actually house in a 1,200 square foot flat, right? So, yeah, we're moving to Himachal, basically in the process of buying a home, which is going to be able to house 50, 60 girls and women. So,
Wow. Wow.
yeah. And I think
Amazing.
the hardest thing about this, though, is that, when we go around performing and we go around doing these speeches and programs, everyone always says, like, oh, what amazing work you're doing. And this is so wonderful. But I don't want you living in my building. Right? So no matter how much we're working towards social change, changing people's mindsets, no matter what we're working towards, it always turns out to be like, not in my backyard. So that's been quite a rough thing for all the girls to deal with as well. I mean, like I said, we've been through 9 homes in the last 12 years that we started, and to change classes, to change schools, to change, all friends and all of that stuff is so difficult for the girls year after year, especially when you're 12, 13, 14 years old. So, yeah, it's been
And
quite a,
I know for a fact, Robin, that in Kranti, um, they're, the girls are made to feel or own their past.
yeah,
It's not something that you want to brush under the carpet or feel, apologetic about. It is, even in the plays that you're doing across the world,
exactly. Yeah,
they're saying that this is who we are, this is where we come from, and we're proud of our parents or our mothers, who have raised us.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So that's kind of the hard part, is because on the one hand, we're trying to change society's mindset about sex work, make them realize that these are just typical, normal, beautiful people, just growing up in a different area or engaging in a different type of work. And on the other hand, we also have to be very careful about how much we reveal or how much we say, because you never know what the landlord is watching the news or reading the news or whatever it may be. So it's a
Yeah.
fine balance, and it's hard for the girls to learn, because on the one hand, once they finally make the journey of being able to speak proudly about their background, their community, their mothers, all of that stuff, then there's always this, but wait, let's be careful here and let's be careful there, and we don't want to lose our house. And so, yeah, let's see, it's been quite a balancing act.
Yeah. No, when I had this conversation with Jayashree, and I, coming from my own mindset, which could be stereotypical as well, because I've never had an exposure, so to speak,
Sure.
I was thinking that, she would be a little conservative about sharing where she's coming from, or not being, happy about the fact that she was in Kamathipura, or she wouldn't want to go back there. But
Hmm.
on the contrary, I found her to say that even though I grew up in Kamathipura, my mother is there. That's where I have my mother. And I'm very proud of her. And the fact that it was my home, it gave me whatever protection that I could have to a certain age. I mean, she was not apologetic about her past,
Yeah.
and she was
Yeah.
speaking openly about it. And and she was also saying that it was, for whatever little time that I was there, it was my home. That's what it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
So, from that perspective, also, I feel, do you see these girls carrying forth that torch of social change with them now that you
Yeah.
have been with them for the past 10 years?
Yeah. So I think, I mean, everyone's not Jayashree as well, right? There are many girls who, let's say, especially, like I mentioned, a girl who's trafficked from Bangladesh, and she's very mindful about not mentioning that she's from Bangladesh, and like this whole process of balancing how much to say, where to say it. And some of the girls really catch on to that very quickly, but then there are some girls who might be a little bit resistant to, to broadcasting it. We have one girl who just started university in one of Mumbai's most expensive and upper class universities. She got a full scholarship, full room and board, everything. But now she's very mindful of like, I'm not going to go around telling my roommates about this, but it's okay if the professors know. So it's a very different, like everyone has to walk their own path of seeing what to say, where to say it, how to say it. And I can't make that decision for the girls ever, right? I give them the space to do either or, whatever it is that they want. And some girls are a lot more open about it, like Jayshree is. And, it's quite a journey, I think, from adopting society's beliefs and the shame and stigma and trauma that comes with it, right? Society says I am, useless and to be stigmatized and to be stayed away from. It's one thing, it's a journey of many years to internalize that, because that's what the girls have been taught their whole lives. Then it's a whole nother journey to come to a place where you can talk openly about this and everyone's from the same community and everything's okay. Then it's another part of the journey to accept this and be public about it. Then there's a whole nother part of the journey that is about pride and being really grateful for where you've come from. And, we have some girls we have girls who have spent their whole lives, 3-4 years of their life being raped every day and then, running away, finding Kranti. And yet many of them will say, like, in some ways, this is the best thing that ever happened to me because I ended up at Kranti. Otherwise, had it not happened, I would have just lived a typical normal life in a slum or in Bangladesh or wherever it may be. And that's all the exposure and experience I ever would have had. So yes, it's a journey of different steps for everyone, and it's a different time for everyone. For some, Jayshree, I remember very well, she was somebody who was already ready to start thinking like this, and she came to Kranti very young, 11 or 12 or something. And the day that we started talking to her about, what it means to be proud of your mother and the fact that your mother has done this solely to take care of you and to feed you, it was like a switch just flipped. And then she was like, yeah, that's true. Why should I listen to what society says? That's true. And then there are some girls who it might take 4 or 5 years to get to that spot. So it just depends on every individual as well, which is true for all of us, right? For people who are survivors of rape, domestic violence, sexual abuse, anything. I think the journey moves at a different pace for all of us.
Yeah. So, Robin, how is it that you were attracted to getting into something like this? Literally, it's a zone that I don't think anybody has probably in the past, at least at this scale, created a home for so many girls to emancipate them, not just through education or feeding, but a complete overall change. So, what was the trigger in your life, or was it like a slow transition that you kind of had always had in your heart, and somehow it materialized later?
Yeah. I wouldn't say there's one or two things, but I think it was quite a specific. I mean, like I said, grew up in the U.S., but with a very, I don't know if typical is the right word, but a very interesting family in the sense of both my parents had mental illnesses, and there's a lot of domestic violence at home. It was very patriarchal in the way that, my father was the one who made all the decisions, held all the financial, and it was so strange to live in a home that was so contradictory to what my experience in mainstream society was like. And then, I understand this as well, because from the girls' perspective, because it's a very Indian thing as well, right? To not talk about your family problems outside, to not mention, so I never, whatever type of violence and stuff went on at home, I remember all these years trying to make sure that I wasn't talking about it at school, or that my friends all thought I was normal, and, that kind of thing. So I think on some level, every single person on this planet has felt some type of experience, trauma, something, whether it's about, for example, I'm lesbian, and I knew that at a very young age, 12, 13, I, was very aware of it. And, what does that mean in an Indian family? Never mind in, the American context, whatever it is. But what it means to grow up in a way that you can't ever talk about, you can't live your reality openly, or you can't talk about your reality openly. And that's something that I very strongly identify with, these women and stuff as well. Like, what does it mean to be illegal in many ways, whether it's in your sexuality, whether it's in your work, whether it's in your, immigration status, whatever it may be. So on some level, I think that when we truly get into looking at the depths of human experience and especially trauma, none of us are really that different from anyone else. And I think, when you look at the numbers in India, I don't remember exactly what it is, but this organization, ARPAN in Mumbai, they've done quite a bit of research on this. And I think there's something like 80 some odd percent of girls in India have been sexually abused at some point in their lives.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
Yeah. So
No,
this
no,
is
I
like,
hear you because every time we've had this conversation inside closed doors, and irrespective, men and women,
yeah,
um,
yeah,
you see that most of us will come out and say somewhere or the other, if not, raped, they'll be felt, they would have been felt as young boys as well,
yeah,
going out,
yeah,
getting their measurements done at the
mm,
tailor, and the
yeah,
tailor, kind of
yeah.
molesting them. So with young children, it has always been the case, and girls more often, I guess, as compared to boys. But yeah, it is pretty rampant.
Yeah. And I think what was shocking to me, I should actually go look it up, but urban statistics were just out of this, like they're mind boggling because it was something extremely high for boys as well. That, as far as I know, we can't make assumptions about anything because I'm sure if people did this type of research in depth in any other country, we would probably find very similar results. Even in, America, they also say in college campuses, almost 1 out of 4 girls or women on campuses experiences sexual assault at some point during their time in university. So, and those are the numbers that are reported. So I'm sure it's much, much higher. And it's almost like this is a typical experience for there's nobody, no woman I've ever spoken to in India who doesn't have some experience or understand this experience from a very personal perspective.
Right.
So
And you rightly mentioned, all of this is pretty much rampant across the world. I mean,
yeah,
you must be
yeah,
aware of the Stanford rape case. I mean,
hmm,
obviously, it went into the news essentially because the boys were completely, let go after about 6 months, and the
uh-huh,
judge or the jury had to say that they have a very bright future ahead, so we're not going to,
yeah,
penalize them for their future, because if he's raped one girl, so what?
yeah,
So this kind of a mindset literally cuts across, and it is very important that we all recognize within our own selves and our own families and our own societies and communities how we can be that change
yeah,
agent. And like your journey, it's while all of us have had some experience or the other which can be traumatic to us, but then pain can actually catalyze one to be the agent of that change that we all seek so desperately within
yeah,
society. So that is also very beautiful in a way, that if you can look
yeah,
back to your life and say that it is
yeah,
it is what it is, and I'm glad that it happened, and because it gave me an opportunity to do this, what I'm doing right now.
yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think, for a lot of our donors and stuff, there's a lot of women who, upper class women in Mumbai from some of the richest families and well known names of industrial families in Mumbai who might be supporting our work. And when we finally get down to asking them, like, what is it that made you choose Kranti? Almost all the time, it's that I was sexually abused for this many years. And the situation was like I felt completely helpless without any support system. And now I want to go back and be the support system for these girls, at least. And I think it's one of the most, like, I won't speak for everyone because not everyone gets the chance to heal and not everyone gets the chance to have therapy or to find a community or to, not everyone does. But for the people who do, it's absolutely the most amazing and rewarding thing that can possibly come from that is knowing that, like the Jayashrees of the world, that they're going to go on to do such amazing things with their lives. And, that something so beautiful can come out of, you know, I guess about Jayashree too, I'll just say she was for many years from a very young age raped by people within the red light area and stuff for quite some time, people that she still knows. And it was quite a journey for her, the whole process of, you know, facing those people, confronting them, letting go, forgiving. And, especially because when you're that young, I mean, I'm talking 9, 10, 11. and what kind of, like you said, Stanford is one thing. The red light area is a completely different thing. A girl from this background without any proof of this happened 8 years ago. And these kinds of things, like how much legally do you possibly even go down that road? So on some level, it becomes a matter of like the journey's internal. And at the end of the day, we talk about this a lot at Kranti, like the day that you're dying, दो ही लोग को जवाब देना है, खुद को जवाब देना और भगवान को जवाब देना है, किसी और को जवाब नहीं देना है, right? So this whole concept of how long do we, pursue a legal aspect of things that we're just unable to really be in charge of or influence? And then when do we just take control of our internal journey and say, my healing process is up to me? So I think that that's been one of the most amazing things that I've watched the Kranti girls go through the past few years, and just seeing how much many of them, as you started this whole session talking about Shakti and everything, we've had so many girls who, it's sometimes spirituality of whatever kind, whether it's we have one girl who studied Buddhism in Italy on a full scholarship for 4 years. We have one girl who just finished a degree in Kevalyadam and is going on to pursue a master's in yoga therapy. All of our girls, like so many of them in some way or another, meditation, yoga, all these things are such a big part of their lives, because I think all of us sooner or later come to the conclusion that this is in my hands and my journey is in my hands. So,
and you, Robin, you are such a, what can I say? You've got such varied experiences, from serving in the US military to actually spending 3 years in the Himalayas, completely cut off from everybody, meditating 10 hours a day, no electricity, no running water, no toilets. How did that come about? And I'm very keen to know what your experience was.
Let me think on what to share exactly. I'm just assuming a little bit about your spiritual beliefs from the introduction that you gave. And I think much of it was, like I said, I walked the exact same path as the girls, and I don't expect them to walk something that I don't walk myself. So one of the things is we are all required to be in therapy. We're all required to have regular, sessions, that kind of thing, because even if you're the adult in the situation, so much of our trauma for for example, my parenting, the way that I was parented is something that I want to make sure I don't repeat with these girls, so we all have regular sessions in therapy. And then of course, this particular therapist that we were working with started getting us into meditation a little bit, and then it just kind of grew and grew, and I started taking meditation a lot more seriously, especially as so much research was coming out around what it means for us physically, mentally, emotionally, how much meditation is such a big part of this journey. Then I forced the girls to start meditating. We started with just these like 10-minute a day type of things, but it's been really interesting to see how the girls have all taken that in different directions. Some of them deciding to pursue this as studies full time. And, what can I say? At some point, I went through a bit of a burnout, which, what can I say? I've spent these stories are amazing, and the girls are beautiful, and the work is phenomenal and exceptional. And yet, how many days of your life can you actually spend being beaten up in jail without any consequences, right? So I've spent plenty of nights in jail. I've been beaten up by the police many times. I've done this and that. And, we had one time where one of our girls ran away, and basically I had to file a report after 2 days of her being gone. And the police used to call me for several days to come look at every dead body of a teenage girl that turned up in Mumbai. From Powai, Kandivali, se leke, I can't even explain to you what that week was like. Every day hoping that it's not her, and yet it's still someone, right? So I think that whole, eventually, sooner or later, burnout was around the corner. I guess it was always written in the cards. And because I joke a lot, I have 3 gurus, one Hindu, one Buddhist, one Muslim. And, so it's always been kind of, and our house is very mixed as well, in terms of many of the girls have been raised Christian in different NGOs. Some are, Buddhist, Hindu, this, that, Jain, Muslim, whatever. And we've always made it a big part of our, our life experience just to, I remember one day we left an ashram that we were just visiting for a few days in Himachal, went straight to Delhi, took the girls to Nizamuddin for Qawwali night. And then the next day we spent all day at the Tibet house with a Buddhist, teacher and stuff. So for us, it's always been a matter of, it's kind of the buffet of India's buffet, spiritually speaking, is quite large, so whatever fits for whomever at whatever juncture of their journey is what's right at that time. Doesn't matter what family you're born into, doesn't matter what your name is. And I think, those things are also very flexible in the red light area as well, because, for example, we have one girl who was born to a Muslim father and named Shabnam Sheikh at the time, but he was just a client of her mother, ran off. The mother was 14 years old when she gave birth. And then that guy ran off. She fell in love with someone else sooner or later, and this guy was Hindu, so then she gave the child a Hindu name. And then some Jain guy came along, and basically, he sexually abused her for many years, but he gave her his, surname as well. And then she grew up in a Christian organization for 3-4 years, and then she came to Kranti. And so it's kind of like I think the lines of our human experience are so blurred and so interconnected that it's actually really difficult to pick apart what is, the real me. Getting back to the mountain, I think that's what
imagine, and also the fact that when you are so personally vested in all of them individually, you're looking after them as your own children, it obviously will lead to a burnout sometime or the other, because all of them are coming from such traumatic pasts. It's not like you're handling one child. And believe you me, I'm the mother of one girl, and while they're growing up, especially through the teenage, it's a very difficult phase for all mothers to go through. But for you to be handling children from a traumatic past as it is, and trying to nurture them into being a full human being, it would be a task altogether. But what became of the girl? Did you finally find her? What happened?
Which one?
The one who had actually ran away, and because of which you had to
yes. And then, the police, actually, you won't believe, she has a lot of mental health issues. She'd been in and out of like mental institutions for quite some time. And then by the time we did find her, and then we had to go take her to the police station in order to say that, we found her. Then she basically had met some guy who promised her the world and that he was going to take care of her. So she'd run off with him. Then she came back and told the police that I forced her to do sex work, and that's why I send her to different places, because she'd just, so I spent that night in jail as well, but that's all you have to.
Hats off to you, Robin, for you to have been through this, whatever you've been through. And
but it's also, for me, I just look at them.
Tell me, how was it for you to be meditating 10 hours a day? How did you manage to do that?
Yeah. So I think on one level, when a burnout comes and when you have to go do something, then it's a matter of like, okay, well, I've done this work, I've traveled the world, I've seen XYZ, I've done blah, blah, blah. Now what? And I think the answer eventually comes to all of us that the only journey left, the only path left to walk is within, very, very deeply within. And that's also the journey that we're all scared of and avoiding at all costs. So that's why we watch movies, and that's why we use TikTok, and that's why we, these are the things that we do in order to not have to walk that journey. So I have, like I said, multiple gurus, but one of them told me he'd also spent some 2 years in the Himalayas, he meditated 22 hours a day. So he didn't even sleep, but he told me I could have it easy and I only needed to do 10 or 12 hours a day. So I said, great, this is easy, but I think the whole process slowly just of being in solitude is like, Vedanta talks so much about this, right? About who we truly are. Well, I think I'm a mother because I have children. And I think I run an organization because I'm the founder of the XYZ organization because the organization exists. And I think I'm a teacher because I have students. Once the students are gone, then are you still a teacher? Once the children are gone, are you still a parent? Once the organization's gone, are you still a social worker? Once you're not speaking Hindi, are you still, or English or whatever it may be? When you're not speaking to people, you're not introducing yourself anymore to anyone. Do you talk about being Indian? Do you talk about being American? Do you talk, so it's quite a process of letting go of all these ideas and bullshit, for lack of a better word, these ideas that we have of who we are, and finally getting down to seeing like, okay, I'm so much more than this. Especially, as a parent, I know someone recently who is getting divorced and her lost custody of her child. And, the whole process of, okay, my identity about being a mother is so strong that I can't imagine my existence without it. So when you actually live in silence by yourself, no phone calls, no nothing, not being online, what are you?
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. I hear you, but even though the internet has been, well, moderately kind, the audio is has been quite patchy in between. But I'm hoping that the outcome is audible enough. But I can't thank you enough for the work that you're doing, Robin. And I wish and I pray for you more solitude and more me time and more alone time. I think
Mm,
that is, as an individual, I see that you've matured a lot, even though I didn't know you before, but with the
mhm.
kind of the way you're explaining your moments in solitude, they make total and perfect sense. Because
Wonderful.
we all the time are in this duality, and we keep validating our existence, being a mother or being a father or being a corporate executive or whatever else that we're doing. And
Mhm.
even in these terms of what language I'm speaking or what clothes I'm wearing, is that what is defining me, or who is it that I am inside, really truly, when I'm stripped of all of these things that I've covered myself with? So I mean, that in
Absolutely.
itself is so beautiful, and you've shared that beautifully, that duality that exists in all of us.
Mhm.
But thank you so much, Robin. We're going to be
You.
posting a link of Kranti in case anybody would like to contribute, be a part of the journey, know more about Kranti, volunteer. I'm sure you would also be giving out
Yeah,
volunteering opportunities to people.
yeah, yeah.
So, and I'm still hoping that my audio is good enough for us to go ahead and post this. All right,
Awesome.
thank
Thank
you,
you.
Robin. You have a good
Thank
stay,
you.
and hopefully, when I'm visiting Himachal, I
Yes,
will probably come down and
yes,
spend
please.
some time with you. Yeah,
Yes, please. Awesome.
thank
Thank
you.
you so
All
much.
right,
Take care.
bye. You too.